Some hotels carry stories with them. Stories the walls never forget. Stories you can feel even years later when you walk down the hallway. This is one of those stories. On January 2nd, 1935, a young man walked into the hotel President in Kansas City. He didn't bring luggage, no suitcase, no coat, just a comb, a toothbrush, and a face that looked like it hadn't slept in days. He signed the hotel register with a steady hand, calm voice, polite tone, and a name that wasn't his. He called himself Roland T. Owen. No one questioned it. No one imagined what would happen next. He asked for a cheap room facing the interior courtyard. Something quiet, something hidden, something out of sight. They gave him room 1046. From the moment he stepped inside, things felt wrong. The blinds stayed closed. The lights never turned on. He sat in darkness like the room needed to stay blind. Like light would expose something or someone. The maid remembered him clearly. Every time she entered, he was sitting in silence, staring into the dark, barely moving. He spoke softly, coldly, like he was there, but not really there. He kept requesting one thing: lock the door when you leave. Always lock the door. He wasn't afraid of strangers breaking in. He was afraid of someone coming back, and he kept mentioning one name, a name whispered more than spoken. Dawn. Guests began to complain. Every night, muffled voices came through the walls, arguing, movement, heavy footsteps. Sometimes it sounded like a conversation, sometimes like a heated confrontation. But staff only ever saw one person in that room: Roland. The maid noticed more details. He never turned the light on. He never opened the curtains. Sometimes she would walk in and find him just sitting there in total darkness, staring at nothing. One time, she finally asked if something was wrong. He slowly turned his head, eyes barely visible in the shadows, and said softly, "Dawn doesn't want me to talk about it." She didn't ask again. Phone operators started noticing something strange, too. Room 1046 would go quiet for long periods. Then the phone would hang off the hook for hours at a time. When hotel staff finally went to check, the door was locked from the outside. Someone had locked it. Someone had been there. When they finally got in, Roland was just sitting there in the dark again. Calm, silent, alive, like nothing was wrong. They asked why the phone was off. He slowly turned and said, "I don't want to be disturbed." But everyone knew something was disturbing him already, because that same night, guests heard something. A heavy thud, then another, then something like struggling, and then a voice, a terrified, desperate whisper. "Please, please, stop." Then silence. Morning came. The hotel staff noticed the phone was unanswered again. They knocked. A weak voice from inside whispered, "Come in," but they couldn't. The door was locked. From the outside, again, someone had locked him in and walked away. They forced the door open, and what they saw never left them. Roland wasn't standing. He wasn't sitting. He was on his knees, hunched beside the bed, drenched in blood. Blood soaked the sheets, the mattress, the carpet, the walls. His wrists were deeply cut. His chest was stabbed. His legs were slashed. A cord wrapped tightly around his neck, like someone had tried to strangle him until he stopped moving. The room told a story of violence. The walls looked like he had tried to crawl, tried to fight, tried to escape. But one thing stood out. There were no towels. Every towel had been taken. Someone tried wiping the scene clean. Someone wanted time. Someone wanted silence. And somehow, Roland was still alive, barely breathing, barely conscious, but alive. Police rushed in and asked him the question everyone needed answered. "Who did this to you?" With blood filling his lungs, he spoke. His voice cracked, weak, breaking. He said, "No one did this. I fell." He lied. Even dying, he was protecting someone. They pushed again. "Who was with you?" He struggled, then whispered one final word. "Dawn." Hours later, he was gone, but his story was just beginning. The investigation revealed nothing. No identification, no personal belongings, no family connections. Even the name Roland T. Owen was fake. For months, the world believed he died nameless, unknown, forgotten, until a woman saw his photograph. His real name was Artemis Ogletree. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a spy. He wasn't a drifter. He was a 17-year-old boy, a kid who somehow ended up hundreds of miles away from home, terrified of a man named Dawn, and murdered in a hotel room he never should have been in. Who was Dawn? A criminal, a jealous lover, a trafficker, a man who owned him. Why did Artemis protect him, even in his last breath? What did Dawn have over him? Why did he accept the pain instead of exposing the truth? Years passed, and then something even stranger happened. The hotel received a phone call from an unknown man. His voice was calm, cold, confident, and he said, "You don't need to worry about who he was. He got what he deserved." Then he hung up. No one was ever arrested. No one was ever named. And room 1046 became one of the darkest unsolved mysteries in American history. Even today, people who stay in that hotel say the hallway feels heavy near that room. Like the air changes, like someone is still in there, listening, waiting. Maybe the walls remember, maybe the room remembers, maybe Dawn is still out there, or maybe he never left. So the next time you check into a hotel, when you walk down that long hallway, when the lights flicker, when you hear something faint through thin walls, a whisper, a voice, a plea, please, stop, just remember. Some rooms aren't just rooms, some halls aren't just halls, and some doors should never be opened, because there are stories like room 1046 that never really ended. They just went quiet.